So, a little house cleaning seems to be in order. Let's talk about burden of proof. Basically, what it is when someone says you're wrong, then the burden of proof lies on them to prove that you are indeed wrong. Sort of to back up their claims. Since my latest video, various supporters of Les Linders has been rather verbal in trying to shut me down, and some of the stuff is rightfully justified. I did indeed forget to mention how Deus Ex Machina took over Les Linders temporarily, and I have been making a huge deal out of the fact that the animals and furries in this universe coexist, and keeps referring to one thing being the other. But then there's the rest. I won't say I'm right, you're wrong and leave it at that, and people might scoff that I'm actually taking up the fight in the comments of my videos. But I refuse to just say you're wrong and not prove why. I dare say that up to this point in my review of Les Linders, I have pointed out exactly what I don't like, why I don't like it, and what you could do to fix it, if you so desired. There we go. Now the burden of proof lies with the supporters of this comic. It is your turn to tell me why I'm wrong and give me proof of that. And this is just when talking about inconsistencies and plot holes. Yes, thus far every time people have commented in how I'm wrong about this review, they pointed out things that they claim I have misunderstood. But is this all it takes to hate or not hate a comic? Whether or not it's consistent? That's like a point on a checklist when writing a book for beginners. It's a given. That I find the comic is inconsistent and has huge plot holes is but one of the many reasons why I think this comic is bad. It's not boring, no, I'll give it that, it's just not interesting. Think about it, what has happened thus far? What is the goal with the comic? What story are we taking part of here? It's a horny, unlikable cunt wanting to make a farm work, and the rest of the story is more or less how she's getting every solution thrown in her face almost immediately after the issue has appeared. Is this really interesting? Imagine if every time the Joker was fucking up shit in Gotham, some Deus Ex Machina would come in and save the day before anything of importance could happen. That's not interesting, nor is it good storytelling. Be totally honest with me here. How many times have you actually read this comic and been like, oh gee, I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next 20 strips? I for one can't do that, cause I know every issue will be solved almost immediately. There's no drama, no tension, no goal. Heck, there's hardly even a story worth mentioning. And really, ask yourself, could a really good comic really escape almost 4 hours worth of video just talking about how shit it is? So what it boils down to now, before we get into the actual review of this, is that the burden of proof now lies with you guys. Let me know why I'm wrong. Like I've been saying before, I wanna like this comic, so if you're really disagreeing with my points, explain to me why I'm wrong. Back that up with evidence. Uberquest, Dreamkeepers, and Caribbean Blue made me a believer of the furry community as a whole, so it would show that I'm not above being proven wrong. In the meantime, let me just prove even further how crap this comic is. Randall and Taffy are going on a date, and already this fucking dialogue. Taffy says she's really looking forward to this thing, and Randall says that she's already looking pretty relaxed. Was she nervous before? Did she say she was? And then Taffy says she's just happy to wear what she wants. Is anyone forcing her to wear particular clothes? Does it say she has to always wear dresses or shirts that tell people to beat her up in a contract? And just, Mario? She's wearing a Mario shirt? So Super Mario is now part of this universe, cause fuck me, I guess. This fucking Super Mario tattoo is coming off right this fucking minute! I don't want to be associated with this! To be fair, I will admit this strip is pretty cute and funny, with everyone addressing Randall and Taffy's little outing as a date and... Wait. What? Wait, hold on the fuck... What? Since... Okay! So, apparently since page 324, we now have 4 people working on this comic. 4! Let me put that into perspective for you. Dreamkeepers, 2 people. UberQuest, 2 people. Sunstone, 2 people. Like a Daisy, 1 girl. This comic has 4 people working on it, and it has more inconsistencies and poorly addressed plot points than this comic, which was also made by just 1 person. Guys, more writers isn't necessarily a good thing. Like, let me make up an example for this. Itfox wants to make a comedy. Soulcat wants it to be about sex. Chala wants it to be a slice of life comic, and Kuram wants it to be drama. If you take all these different minds about what one thing should be, you're gonna wind up with a mess. Steak is good, ice cream is good, Coca-Cola is good, and Metal Gear is good. But if you mix it all together, well, let's just say I doubt you'd eat it. There's an old saying that goes, the hunter who chases 2 rabbits catches neither one. And here we have 4. Another saying is that clever man doesn't piss against the wind and clever man doesn't read Las Lindas. So Taffy and Randall goes out to eat. Taffy is eating spinach, mushrooms and extra cheese on hers, while Randall is stating that if you put bacon on something, he'll probably eat it. You were simply not hot enough to work on the farm. Rest in peace, you magnificent source of bacon. Rest in peace. The date continues, and it's so nice to see that Taffy and Randall, 2 characters I only have a little against, are hitting it off. And honestly, the date is pretty cute and romantic, and even though both of them agreed taking it slow, the date ends with a kiss under the moonlight. Aw, this is some really heartwarming romance. I really hope nothing will ruin this. Some say love, it is a river. Back at Buttfuck Central, better known as Las Lindas, Mora is waiting for Randall and Taffy to get home, hoping for all the saucy details. I assume when you're as much of a slut as Mora is, you kind of default into thinking that people do anal on their first date. Someone's at the door and Mora goes to open it, and it's Tootsie? Okay, who just walks inside like she owns the place. Mora is shocked that Tootsie is there, but even more so by the fact that she walked all the way from Gossamer. Let's ignore the fact that Mora would have no way of knowing that Tootsie did indeed come from Gossamer, and instead address the fact that Mora has no reason for being shocked, as she herself has walked this path several times earlier in the comic. One could be persuaded to thinking that these writers don't actually read their own comic for consistency. Don't know where that's coming from, I know. Tootsie apparently has a great plan, but first she wants to find out why Mora and Alejandra are such enemies. Surprisingly enough, the writers actually stick with the story of this all being because Mora ran away with Alejandra's high school crush. While it is commendable that this comic actually managed to be consistent for once, it revives a problem with it that Tootsie happily points out. That's a really shitty reason. Maybe it's just me, but wouldn't this have been far more understandable, and wouldn't we be able to relate far more with the story if we knew far more about how Alejandra was feeling about the guy? To see her dreams and love get crushed by Mora's epic boobage, and then you'd find out Mora did it because she knew the guy was bad news and she wanted to protect Alejandra, and this would create a rift between the readers where one group would side with Alejandra and another side with Mora, and it would be well written, and then maybe I wouldn't be on my fucking video explaining how shitty this fucking comic is, and maybe I would then be able to overlook the fact that Tootsie is straight up saying that she's a mouse! And Mora's a cow! But she's not a cow! But she's totally a cow! And what is real life? Rainbow all the way! Oh my god, someone please end me from this fucking torment! Randall and Taffy comes home to find Tootsie using Mora to give her some fan service. Now, whether or not Taffy and Tootsie know each other, we as normal readers don't know. We can only assume as much from how buddy-buddy Taffy and Tootsie are. If they truly did know each other before this, how come they seem so thrilled to see each other again? I mean, did Alejandra never mention who works at Las Lindas? And did Mora never explain who it was that created that mushroom cloud explosion next to the farm? Anyway, what we're supposed to be paying attention to is the talk that Randall and Mora has, which is them talking about whether or not Mora should go and check on Alejandra. Now, believe it or not, I've actually had people writing me saying how Mora is a good character. That's it. I don't gotta follow up. That was the joke. And I can sort of assume this is one of the pages that they'll use to show Mora being a nice person. The reason I'm saying that, and this is in no shape or form an attack on the readers, is because from what I've seen, the supporters of this comic seem to have a very selective memory. Like, sure, the outcome of this strip is Mora going to help Alejandra, but this isn't a selfless act. Mora does this to avoid getting more inconvenient visits from Tootsie or more drama from Alejandra. In other words, this is but another act to serve her own needs. I challenge you, find me one point where Mora truly did something selfless, only to benefit the other person and not herself in any way. If you're having trouble, just remember that we are over 350 pages in. Now, I don't remember the exact term. I believe it's something like saving the cat or something like that. Either way, it's a technique used in writing. It is when you give the readers a reason to like a character, for example by having him or her save a cat. Obviously, that's not the only way of doing it. You can have your character do anything that'll make you like them, like lending a person a phone, give an encouraging pat on the back of someone who needs it, or just give a compliment or be funny. The reason why I bring this up is because, well, we haven't seen any of that with Mora to my knowledge. Everything she has done has either been for her own good, or it's something she does after being forced to do it, or she's reluctant to do. Instead, what this comic has done is something we can actually call kick the cat, or more fittingly, smack the kid with a frying pan. You've been given ample reasons to hate Mora instead of liking her. Oh no, Riser, you're totally forgetting that she's letting people stay on her farm! Need I remind you that the reason she's doing this is to have people work for her, and even if that wasn't the case, it was still something she was reluctant to do on her own. After this review's portion of literary techniques, we move on to Mora monologuing about her relationship with Alejandra over the years. Basically, it goes as well as you would think, with it contradicting itself with how well Mora and Alejandra knew each other, plus dances around the fact that Alejandra and Mora could have just talked about this. I mean, with Mora being Alejandra's guardian and being more experienced in sticking shit inside of her, I don't see why Alejandra wouldn't listen to her. I know you wouldn't have what these writers think is drama if you did that, but then give us a reason why it didn't work out. Show us that Mora tried, but Alejandra was too madly in love to hear reason, which would force Mora into doing what she did. This would be your saving the cat moment. Instead, now all we're left with is contempt and the thought, "What? What the fuck?" Mora shows up at Alejandra's home, which would seem to be located several hundred miles away if it can now be dawn when it was clearly midnight when we last saw Mora. Mora stumbles across Alejandra, or rather Patches as she's now suddenly calling her because the writers thought it would be cute, who is shooting her old trophies. The next page is yet another one of those pages that makes me question the writer's skill. And not because I normally hold them in high regard, obviously. In fact, it's the opposite. This is another one of those strips that shows just how shit Mora is, with Alejandra explaining just how much she has lost due to Mora's whimsies and Mary Sue luck. Alejandra also states that she's been scandalized by, and I quote, by the High Prime, my own board of directors, and by you. Yep, there it is. Her own board of directors. Hers, meaning she owns it. Meaning she's above them. Meaning they can't fucking take decisions about their own fucking boss's future. They can't replace her. They can't force her to take a sick leave. They can fuck off and all. Why don't you go tell your boss that he's a huge shit and he should take a sick leave? It's the exact same thing! We then move on to Mora consoling Alejandra, saying she wants her to understand and that she's willing to forgive her. Mora forgives? Alejandra? Mora's going to forgive Alejandra? How? Seriously? Really? Really? Mora forgives Alejandra? For what? What the fuck did Alejandra do to Mora? Are you talking about the time Mora almost got choked? That was a malfunction. That didn't carry any ill intent. Are you perhaps referring to her going to dig up Diana's grave? Well, she didn't, and it was on her land as far as I can understand. To continue before I literally vomit blood out of pure anger that a comic can be this poorly written, Mora continues explaining to Alejandra that they should put aside the differences that originated from something as silly as a teenage crush. That's when Alejandra says that she did all she did not because of her high school crush, but because Mora upped and left when Diana needed her the most, and Alejandra tried to fill the hole Mora left. Seeing it's not written, I can only assume she built a company so big and earned so much money that Randall and Diana, if she hadn't died, would have never needed anything ever again. There are actual people who think that Alejandra is the villain. Let me just let you sit with that for a while and just think it over. So Alejandra chews Mora up and eventually drops her spirit gem thingy. For the sake of the story, Alejandra has now seemingly lost all interest in the thing that she was so happy suddenly worked before and is now back to shitting all over it. Mora doesn't want to have any of it and says she can't let Alejandra destroy it because it's a living person. No, it's not. It's like a mirror. If it's a reflection of something, it's an instrument which takes something in and puts something out. In fact, if Mora activated this spirit gem, there should be another digit, as it would be a reflection of Mora's soul. In other words, it's not a living person. It's a thing that does something. You don't hear me referring to my Metal Gear Rex as a living thing either. And I dare fucking say I love the shit out of this. So, because Mora fears Alejandra will destroy a spirit gem, she then takes the gem and keeps it for safekeeping. Alejandra says that Mora should just fuck off and leave her alone, but Mora insists on helping her. Okay, I can live with Mora for once doing a selfless act, and is seemingly wanting to help Alejandra. Fair game, good on you, comic. Here's my issue though. Why now? Why does she suddenly want to help Alejandra now? What has happened to suddenly make Mora compassionate about Alejandra? Why does she extend her help to Alejandra now, when up to now she's done nothing but insult and assault her? This leads us into another of those fancy schmancy segments of my reviews where I try and share a little literate know-how with you guys. Today's subject is a thing called plot convenience. It more or less says in the word what it is, but I still want to talk about it a little. Plot convenience is when something happens in a story that's just so conveniently made for the plot to continue. Plot convenience is often confused with deus ex machina, which is when a person or an object helps in one way or another and is coming out of freaking nowhere, and is ever so convenient. Plot convenience is, however, on a more grand scale. It's where the story just so happens to allow certain things to help the plot along. Mora suddenly supporting Alejandra like this is one of such plot conveniences. Because we haven't seen anything that would make her suddenly do this other than it being convenient for the plot. Plot convenience isn't exactly a sure certain way to have your story accused of poor writing, but it should work as a warning sign that something is up. But then again, meh, what the fuck do I know, right? So after Mora tells Alejandra that Tootsie is waiting at Las Lindas, Alejandra flips her tits and smacks Mora in the back of the head with the stock of her priorly broken shotgun, as she hisses at Mora for taking everything from her. With the drinking game going on, I know there's a high chance of this, but was I drunk when I read that Alejandra fucking fired Tootsie? Anyway, Alejandra immediately panics once she comes out of her hissy fit and asks Mora if she's okay. Because Mora doesn't exactly have anything that Alejandra could knock loose in her head anyway, she's super fine and just keeps telling Alejandra that they're going to Las Lindas to talk things over. What then follows is Alejandra explaining how she wanted to buy Las Lindas before Mora's mother, Diana, died. The reason for doing this was to lessen Deanna's burden and so she could spend more time with her and look over her in her last days alive. All the while, our protagonist was out looking for her dad, which is a thing that I honestly don't think you're ready to hear. But Randall insists that Maura tells him, Alejandra, and us about what happened on her little journey out to find her dad. This is first after Maura says she did nothing wrong and Randall is saying she knows that Maura is a good person on the inside. I suppose the writers are trying to get back into the whole joking feel again. So Maura tells us about her hunt for her dad and even straight up says, I had to do whatever I could to get by. So I had to work. Well, I'm not proud of it, but I got by. Ladies and gentlemen, our protagonist is from this point forward officially, in every sense of the word, a whore. Which is good, because now I can call her that without sounding like I'm just calling her names. You fucking whore! So, get this. When Maura finally found her dad, he was being made experiments on, complete with being naked and test tubes going in and out of his super ripped body. Not only that, but... I can't believe I'm saying this. He also has one glowing red eye as well as tribal-esque markings spanning up to cover the entire left side of his face. Do I really have to say anything? It's Sasuke. It's literally Sasuke. Look at this. How is this not Sasuke? Why is no one calling all the bullshit on this? We are a Sharingan thingy away from it being a total complete rip-off. But right now we're just settling with a rip-off. And fucking really? This is what was going on? Her dad is this super experimental dude in some secret lab? Why the fuck didn't Maura go to the police, the news, give an anonymous tip if she was worried about how people coming after her? Why is this not the main focus of our story? Why is this first brought up now? You would think Maura's dad, being the last bunny of the Uchiha clan, would have some kind of major plot relevance. How the fuck does Maura go from, oh shit, my dad is being experimented on and could very possibly be the world's first chemically enhanced super soldier ninja bunny, to, hey, I wanna trick a horny fuck into working on my farm cause shit's hard? Where the fuck is her priorities? Where are these writers' priorities? When even half okay writers makes background stories for their pre-established characters after they've been introduced and we've gotten to know them, they make the background lead somewhat up to what the character is like when we first see them. This, in no shape or form, justifies or explains why Maura is as she is, and even makes you question even further how carefree and unfocused she is. And I'm gonna stop some of you before you even get out of your fucking corner and say that this is some stress-induced memory suppression. Because this is not how it works. If you're going to tell Maura suppressed all of this because of how fucked up the whole thing was, then she shouldn't be able to remember anything about it. And let's not forget, it's fucking Sasuke! So Maura continues to saying what I've been saying all this time, that she was miles away when Diana died and she should have been there instead of chasing someone who decided to leave her even before Maura was born. Which begs the question, why does she then keep saying it was her parents' farm and not just her mother's? Randall and Alejandra react somewhat realistically and is flipping their tits over Maura's revelation that her dad was something that's called a Narakan. While showing concern and interest in Maura, the best thing Maura can do in return is shitting on Randall and Alejandra for digging up in her past. Classy. Alejandra goes on to question whether or not Maura really saw what she thinks she saw, she smacked her over the head with a shotgun stock, and says that if her dad was really a Narakan, that could mean that Maura is also one of them, referring to her being an Arakan, a tainted prime. And now Maura is also some kind of special person. Now drop that bass!
That's the life of a Mary Sue.
Not really as explosive as I had hoped. Yes, Maura is now suddenly a fucking tainted prime. Let's just fucking light this damn super special snowflake up in bright purple neon, why don't we? I swear at this point it's a wonder that Maura doesn't have heterochromia iridium. Anyway, Maura goes on to say she's not a monster. And I'm not bald or slightly intoxicated by default from my Danish heritage. Now it's time for Mora to rip off Twilight, as she talks about how her parents were always on the run and couldn't stay in one place more for a certain time before people started figuring out that her dad was an Arakan. And hey, with this knowledge, isn't it fucking obvious why her dad left? He didn't want to have his history badly influence Diana and Mora, and he's just a misunderstood dad who tried to protect his family. Watch this be the case, cause it took me like 5 seconds to come up with. Anyway, Alejandra leaves saying she needs time to absorb all of this, and Mora is having an existential crisis. And please, just take a moment to think about how fast this all became about Mora. Before it was her mom and dad, and then all of a sudden it's all about Mora being an Arakan or not, or how people will react to her. Narcissism, thy name is Mora. As a result of this, Mora is having a cry about how everyone will now leave her seeing the truth is out, and Randall hugs her saying she isn't a monster to him. Randall is basically like the supporters of this comic, ignoring what is right fucking there. Like you can see, it's right fucking there! It's shit! We skip to Mora having all Diana's possessions spread out over her bed, and Minos asks about it. Mora says it's all she has left of her mother and would wish that she was still there so she could ask her how she was able to raise a family, run a farm, and still be so kind to people. Minos then, straight up lies and says that he has seen Mora capable of great charity. Charity. The practice of being benevolent, giving, and sharing. Nope, I'm not seeing it. So, I'm actually just gonna skip most of this, cause it's all just the comics trying to force its readers into believing that Mora is a nice person, by completely overlooking her previous actions, and twisting everything that she has done into being a selfless act, which we have already established they weren't. So, we jump forward to Alejandra arriving to the farm later that evening. Alejandra then says she wanted to thank Mora for her help because she, in Alejandra's words, didn't have a reason to go to her house and get her out of the mess she put herself into. See? This is what the pages prior to this was. Just, straight up lying. Yes! Mora had a reason to go to her house because she didn't want more drama to happen to bother her. She did this for herself, and Alejandra didn't put herself in the situation. Mora did. Mora was the one who stole the prize in front of her, and Amber was the one who prevented Alejandra in expanding her business because she was insisting on helping Mora because she's a Mary Sue. Anyway, Alejandra forgives Mora and then asks Mora for forgiveness, even though she's done nothing that could be forgiven. Luckily, Mora doesn't say she forgives her, and they then have some great juice as they toast to the future. Let's toast with them, cause there's no way in fucking hell I can survive this shit sober. The next thing we see is Alejandra consulting her board, more or less saying how she's stepping down, but is taking the position of overseeing the new Alexandria Health Foods division. This is not done, however, after giving us Tootsie, giving us a long speech about how they'll be working the company from now on. Seriously, do we need to get it in so much detail? Sit the fuck down. Before you flip your proverbial tits at me and go, you can't complain about the business being too lax and then complain about it being too complicated. Let me just, stop you. Yes! I did indeed complain earlier about the writers knowing nothing about business, with how a board works and how companies work in general. And we are indeed now seeing a lot of company babble. The problem with this is that it's functioning a lot like if I asked what a carrot was. The good answer would be that it's a vegetable that you can eat and it's good for you and it's as tasty as balls. The bad answer would be to more or less read aloud the entire Wikipedia page on carrots. Show, don't tell. Show us these guys knows what business is, instead of having them talk a lot about business we don't care shit about and we won't need in the future. If I have ever given an advice, this is it. Fucking show, don't tell. You're making a comic. You're working with imagery. I mean, do you need this too? Yo, this dude is acting mad crazy. This guy is acting mad crazy. He doesn't act like a adoptee. You know he's not acting like an adoptee because this motherfucker is actually decoy activist and he's trying to find out what Stick knows so like he can kill his ass
but that's also why he dies later. But actually, he's taking the persona of Skidd from fucking Metal Gear Snake Eater. So this motherfucker is actually trying to find out what Snake knows. But that's because Descartes is actually the villain. He's the villain. He's trying to, look like. Yeah, now he dies.
So, as if the whole stepping down as CEO and asking for forgiveness from Mora wasn't infuriating enough, Alejandra and Mora are now business partners. Why? Plot convenience, of course. It's not like Alejandra could have gotten the produce she needs elsewhere, and probably better so. I mean, she even states that Mora has to change what she's growing to fit Alejandra's demands. See, this is where you would be able to show Alejandra being a good businesswoman. Show her walking around, checking out various vendors' produce. Show her holding up various vegetables next to the other. And not just have her team up with Mora because of a dumb, poorly planned, plot convenient, shitty thought out, forced and uncreative bullshit! Another example of this comic telling instead of showing is how before Alejandra leaves Mora, Mora gives her back her nanocell crystal. Okay, stop it here. What does this mean? Well, it means that Mora trusts Alejandra, right? After all, she took the crystal because she thought Alejandra was gonna destroy it. We are clever readers. We can put 2 and 2 together, right? Well, the writers apparently don't think so, and they have Alejandra straight up ask if this means that Mora now trusts her.
This right here, this right here is a fucking clever analogy of death and life, like you know, like he comes in on a train, and the train is like, it's bringing him to life, right? And now he's boarding a train to leave, so like he arrives at life, that's perfect, and now he's leaving, and everyone's crying, and everyone's saying goodbye, and saying like how they won't cry, and they want to put up a strong front and shit. So like this is all a clever analogy of death. You see how much like this is like death? Yeah. Because that's because this shit right here is death.
Alejandra goes to bed after talking to herself. We are all stronger than we think. I imagine myself a failure and was won because of it. I needed a road to success, and there it was. My name is Alejandra, and I'm strong enough to face another day. I don't even know where to begin with this, nor where to end really. So let's just skip this one for now. The next morning, Alejandra wakes up noticing that she has her nanocell bracelet on. Quickly putting 2 and 2 together, she knows this means that her nanocell is finally out and about. We close this chapter off with Fee, Alejandra's spirit, saying, I'm here to be your resident spirit, Miss Alejandra.
Don't forget to feed me or not. I don't really know. And feel free to set up a modem at your own leisure. That is actually needed.
We start the next chapter out with Tootsie, who is out moving stuff around for her new lab. She then explains her robot, Big Cheese, why her new lab will be better than her last, because she can somewhat rip off Dr. Insano.
With science?
I'm having Sanity flashbacks with having what I love being ripped open and then just pounded in the ass. Miles comes by Tootsie, who's doing her best Iron Man impression, and is immediately like a little kid when he then sees all the mechanic equipment that Tootsie has laying around, even go as far as to jump into Tootsie's Big Cheese robot.
It's time for another good idea, bad idea. Good idea.
This is a good scene, because we have already established that Miles loves mechanics, and so it's obvious that he would love all the gizmos that are lying around, further establishing a trait from Miles that we haven't seen very much of.
Bad idea.
This is however made super dumb by the fact that it's obvious this is all just to have Tootsie yell, "You touched my cheese!" in the hope of making it a catchphrase or a t-shirt design or something. This is just speculation however, but the way it's framed and how forced it is, it's hard to think of other things it could be. Anyway, Tootsie catches Miles, who is all over her cheese, put in your sexual innuendo here, and then fires him away with its rocket. Ding dong, the witch is dead? Does this mean Miles is dead now? I know it's supposed to be slapstick humor, but we have skipped some levels here. Like, We started off with showing Miles getting bonked on the head and have hot tea poured down on him as slapstick humor, but we've also seen people almost dying from drowning, plus presented the threat of being electrocuted from the well as something you can die of. Plus, early in the comic, when Minos is throwing gophers, Rachel presents the possibilities that they could be harmed by the huge throw. Well, here's to hoping, I guess. We move on to a scene I was first ready to rant and rave about, with Digit and Phi being asked what to do about the whole Alejandra moving scenario. Because, well, why? Why the fuck is Era, I guess it is, going so much out of her way to help these two? Her support was limited to get Digit back up to speed after her malfunction, and now she's going out of her way to help Mora and Alejandra with the whole ordeal? And while I was ready to shit on this and make a huge deal out of it, we didn't see Phi and Digit talking about how they'd go about making the entire thing easier to work with. And this is actually handled pretty well, because we see Phi being super analytical about everything, and Digit being more of a people person, both representing individually Alejandra and Mora, or rather what Mora was supposed to be like. The whole thing is good until this sentence. Digit is a sacred spirit, the rarest to be certain. It takes a strong, compassionate heart to keep a sacred spirit alive. Then why isn't she dead yet? And really? The rarest? God forbids our dear brightly lit purple snowflakes that now is also playing dubstep isn't special enough! We move back to the farm where Mora is going through job applications. Wasn't the whole issue they couldn't get any applications before? And now they seemingly have over 30? Why exactly does people suddenly want to work for Mora? Maybe because her boobs have grown a few sizes since last? I don't know. And now Taffy is straight up wearing a maid outfit. I guess that's one of the outfits Mora is just forcing Taffy to wear by contract. And then, just like that, Mora finally does her first real selfless act, which is to order pizza to let Taffy have a night out so she can have a night out with Randall. Oh, it only took us 390 pages! Let me just point out that Caribbean Blue is finished at this point, and that wasn't even 350 pages long. UberQuest, as it is now, is not even 100 pages long, and in each of these comics you've already found out why you should like the various main protagonists. Taffy and Randall spent their date out looking at gaming stuff, and now suddenly they're throwing glasses on Taffy cause, I don't know, I guess someone dug the hot librarian look and figured it would fit Taffy. Anyway, they find a ton of tabletop games and books, and then bump into some of Taffy's friends, who then ask who Taffy's new girlfriend is, and I suddenly think I know who our new office persona is. Can't quite put my finger on why though. Taffy introduces Randall and her current living situation to the two girls, Pepper and Coco, going as far as to say she's working at Las Lindas with her best friend Mora. If that sounds like it's forced, well, shit, you know how it goes by now. And we also find out that it would seem like Tootsie was part of these guys' old D&D gang. Coco cuts all the tension and says how she has found the perfect class for Randall, which is a paladin, to which Randall replies, "What's a paladin?"
You are not gonna believe this shit.
How are you today? I thought that I knew all of the paladins around here.
What's a paladin? What's a paladin? What's a paladin?
What's a paladin?
What's a paladin?
Show it again.
What's a paladin?
Again.
What's a paladin?
Again!
What's a paladin?
What's a paladin? Fuck you!
Automatic, diplomatic, systematic, sticking at the sickest pattern. Listen as I discombative amateurs. Make your soul deviate, put your carcass in the grave. Homies try to mediate, I'll squeeze your brain in canisters. Put your mind in blenders, guess what's for dinner? Vertebrae is murder day, it's best that you surrender. I can tell you tender, smell the blood from your injured. Re-issue, plead for remission, cause you entered without permission, trespassing, yo, that's instant dimples to your temple. Die already, let's make it simple. I'm the beast to the feast, I'm hungry, so let's eat. I want your rib cage meat, stuck in between my teeth. Delicatessen, dressed in, dressing in decadence. Nobody will find you, I'll eat up all the evidence. Carnivore versus herbivore, my hunger plays a different melody than yours. You ain't never heard before. check it out. 1, 2, beast mode, what you wanna do? Yes, y'all, we merciless, and until now you ain't never heard of us. Check it out. 1, 2, beast mode, what you wanna do? Yes, y'all, we merciless, and until now you ain't never heard of us. Check it out. 1, 2, beast mode, what you wanna do? Yes, y'all, we merciless, and until now you ain't never heard of us. You ain't never heard of us. You ain't never heard of us. You ain't never heard of us.
Happy holidays! Yeah, I know, nothing says happy holidays like puking up vast amounts of blood out of sheer anger. It's like the most Christmassy thing in the world. Anyway, today's episode has been made possible by a bunch of amazing people. First of all, we got Allison Carmichael. I actually don't know what Allison Carmichael here is making. I think she may be the creator of a webcomic called ThatLeaf. I'm not entirely sure, seeing that she didn't really write anything. So I will link you to her Patreon for now, and I will change it the moment I find out what it actually is she makes. But if it is ThatLeaf, you're in for a good run. Like, that's a really interesting looking comic. Next up we got Skidd from UberQuest, the UberQuest dynasty. Really? You shouldn't really need me to say this anymore. If you haven't read UberQuest and gotten hooked yet, well, something's wrong with you. Next up we got CloudyDaze. You know what? I really love pixel art. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, it really is. And I know that I'm like sounding like a major shill, but I really do like pixel art. And the best thing is that CloudyDaze, he doesn't just make pixel art, he also animates it. So if you want to see some really cool and actually kind of cute looking pixel art, go out and check his DeviantArt that I'll throw a link to. Next up we got Alix J. Alix J is working on Dev's My Bitch. We have had long talks about Dev's My Bitch, and you guys should really look forward to this. I don't think I have seen anyone who has been so focused on a theme of her comic as Alix here is. So really check it out. Next up we got Shane Asher. Shane works on Strays of Seravia, which actually, when you think about it, if you shorten it down, it means SOS, like a perfect name for a bunch of superheroes, right? Just, you know, to really paint Shane in an awesome light. After talking with him, I found out that after I pointed out something that kind of contradicted some, like the whole crux of how his comic was built, he was ready to scrap the entire thing. Like, he's that dedicated to give you guys an amazing story. So really, check out Strays of Seravia. And last but not least, we have ThatLeaf. You gotta be the leaf. And of course, the one and only David Lillie. If you guys want to be one of the amazing people that you see here at the end of these lovely, long shouting, screaming for agony and blood and violence videos, you can do so by pledging on my Patreon. You can pledge any amount you want, and please remember, you don't have to. You get a bunch of awesome, cool extra shit, and you get your whatever thing you're working on pushed here at the end. So if you want to do that, you can go to www.patreon.com/Riser. As again, you can pledge any amount you want, you don't have to, it would be greatly appreciated. And if you don't want to, well, at least thank you for watching this video. If I don't make another video, everyone have a great holiday, no, not have a great Christmas because of people, have really great holidays. Is that how you say it? I don't know. You know what, I'll have to get back to you on that. Anyway, take care, bye bye.